Always. All right, guys. What is it? 3-1 and 3-2. Quiz is tomorrow, yes?
Yeah.
Right, you with me? Okay, 3-1, 3-2 quizzes tomorrow. We are going to have 4 questions that are free response, 6 that are multiple choice. I tend to think multiple choice is harder because I can't give you any partial credit. But if you guys can kind of differentiate and decipher what the question is asking, you can eliminate some things. It's not so hard. So these first few, when you evaluate, what does that mean? They just want you to do what? Plug it in. So I'm going to do this 3 times. The first time I'm going to evaluate, I'm going to plug in -2. You guys with me? So 3 times -2 squared minus 6 times -2 plus 1. Parentheses, exponents first. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so I have 2 squared, which is 4. Everybody okay with that? Okay, so this is 4. What's 3 times 4?
12.
So we have 12. What's -6 times -2?
Positive 12.
Plus 12 plus 1. Left to right now. 12 plus 12 is? Plus 1 is? So when I plug in -2, f of -2 equals how much? 25. Questions?
Nope.
All right, now what am I going to plug in? 0. So same exact problem, but now I'm plugging in 0. So 3 times 0 squared minus 6 times 0 plus 1. Well, this one's super easy. What's 0 squared? Times 2. Times 3.
0.
Times 25,000.
0.
Okay, so 0. And then what's -6 times 0?
0.
0. So 0 minus 0 plus 1 is? So f of 0. When I plug in 0, what do I get out? 1. I want you to write your answers like that, guys. The last number I'm going to plug in is 3. So again, same thing. F of 3. 3 times 3 squared minus 6 times 3 plus 1. So 3 squared is 9, and 9 times 3 is?
27.
Okay, so 27 minus what?
18.
Perfect, plus 1. We read left to right, so we work left to right. What is 27 minus 18?
9.
And 9 plus 1 is?
10.
So f of 3. When I plug in 3, I get out 10. Questions? We okay? All right. So over here, same thing. I'm going to do this problem how many times? 3. The first time I'm going to plug in the number 2. So I have 16 minus 2 over 5 plus 2. What is 16 minus 2? 14. And what is 5 plus 2?
7.
Does that simplify?
Yes.
So then go ahead. What's 14 divided by 7?
2.
2. All right. So now I'm going to plug in what number? 0. So I have 16 minus 0, correct? Over 5 plus 0. So 16 minus 0 is?
16.
5 plus 0 is?
5.
Does that simplify at all?
Nope.
Could I make it into a mixed number?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have to? No, I wouldn't bother. Last one.
-5.
F of -5. So I'm plugging in -5. 16 minus -5. And then
5.
5 minus 5. What's 16 plus a -5?
21.
21 over, what's 5 minus 5?
0.
What's my answer here?
0.
No. Undefined. Where is 0 not allowed to be? In the denominator. Undefined. It's not 0, guys. You can write no solution or something like that, but it's not 0. All right, evaluating piecewise. This is the exact same thing. You're going to figure out which expression you're going to use to plug in the number, but you have to figure out where the number that you're plugging in falls. So if I say f of -3, okay, you guys have to look up here. These 3 inequalities tell you where to look. -3. Where does -3 fall? Is it less than or equal to -2? Is it in between -2 and +2? Or is it bigger than 2? The first one. So what is the value when I use -3?
4.
It's just 4. You literally would write equals 4. That's an equal sign. What's the next number they want me to plug in?
-1.
-1. Okay, where does -1 fall? Is it less than negative 2? Is it in between negative 2 and positive 2? Or is it bigger than 2?
In between.
It's in between. Does everybody see that? So which expression am I going to plug negative 1 into? X squared minus 3. So I'm going to say, okay, x squared minus 3. That's you showing me that you understand where to plug that number into. Now I say negative 1 squared minus 3. What's negative 1 squared?
1.
And 1 minus 3 is?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. So f of negative 1 equals negative 2. Does that make sense? If that doesn't, guys, let me know. Okay. Next number, 0. Where does 0 fall?
In between.
In between as well. So we're going to use the same one. What was it again?
X squared minus 3.
Okay, so now I plug in 0 squared minus 3. What's 0 squared?
0.
Minus 3.
Negative 3.
So my answer is negative 3. All right, what about 1? Where does 1 fall?
In between.
Same one again. Okay, so x squared minus 3. 1 squared minus 3. What is 1 squared?
1.
Minus 3 is?
Negative 2.
Okay.
And 4.
And then where does 4 fall?
Last one.
The last one. So f of 4, we're going to plug into negative 2x plus 5. So negative 2 times 4 plus 5. What's negative 2 times 4?
Negative 8.
Negative 8 plus 5. So when I plug in negative 4, what do I get out?
Negative.
Negative 3. Does anybody have any questions on evaluating the piecewise? Yes, sir.
What if like one could go into like 2?
It won't.
It won't.
Good question, but it won't. All right, we'll come back to 4 in a second. 4 is that long, crazy, gross one. We'll come back to that in a second. All right, guys, for domain, what are the 3 things that you have to make sure for domain restrictions? Cannot have what?
0 on
Okay, can't have 0 in the denominator. So if there's a variable in the denominator, you're going to have a domain restriction. If there is a square root, or if there is a square root where? In the denominator. So look at this first one. Is there a variable in the denominator? Right? This whole thing is over 1. No. Is there a square root? No. Is there a square root in the denominator? So do I have any domain restrictions? No, I can plug in any number. If I plug in a negative number, will I get some sort of answer out? Yes. If I plug in a positive number, will I get some sort of answer out? Yes. If I plug in 0, will I get some sort of answer? So you, on a multiple choice, would answer that is negative infinity to positive infinity. This is going to be a multiple choice type question. Mm-hmm. What about here? What question?
So for these guys, it would always be
Interval notation, yeah. So like here, what rule are we breaking? There's a variable where? Okay, so we have to say, okay, 7x minus 5 cannot be 0. X can be anything in the world except for one number. I got to figure out what that one number is. So I would do what to both sides? Add. Okay. So 7x equals 5. Then what? Divide by 7. So x cannot be 5/7. It can be anything else, but it can't be 5/7. Because when I plug 5/7 in for x, the denominator becomes what number? 0, which we can't have. So you would say, okay, I can use any number in the world from negative infinity all the way up to what? 5/7. Now, what am I going to have at the end of 5/7? Can I use 5/7? No. So it'd be a parenthesis. A union. And then I would go from 5/7 to what? Infinity. Good. Is that you? Good. I can use any number in the entire world except for 1. And it happens to be what? 5/7. That's what you're telling me there. Does that make sense? Okay. I'm going to do 2 more examples. I'm going to change what we have on the video or on your worksheet. What's the problem here?
there's a negative and
Not that there's a negative. There is a what?
square root.
A square root. Can you take the square root of a negative number, guys? No. Can you take the square root of 0? Yeah. What's the square root of 0? 0. So you have to say that this has to be greater than or equal to 0. So what do I do to both sides?
Square root.
I square both sides. So I have x minus 1 greater than or equal to 0. Now what?
Plus 1.
Okay, add 1 to both sides. So x has to be greater than or equal to what? 1. Think about that. If you need to, graph it to kind of look at it. Where am I going to put it? I got 1 here. Whoops. Is that an open parenthesis or a closed one? Closed. Where are all the numbers greater than 1? To the right. So look, if you need to do that to get yourself a picture, because you have to pick the answer choice that's in interval notation. How would I write that in interval notation? Bracket 1 to what? Infinity. Isabella, fantastic. I guarantee you, if that's answer choice A, what do you think answer choice B is going to be? Parenthesis 1 to infinity. Is there a difference between those two answers? Yes. The top one includes 1. The bottom one does not. You guys see that? Okay. What about this one? What's the problem? There's a square root, and it's where? In the denominator. So when we had the last square root, we said, okay, square root had to be greater than or equal to 0. Can this be equal to 0? No, because it's where? In the denominator. So this one would just be greater than 0. So what do I do to both sides? Square it. Good. So I have 2x plus 3 greater than 0. Now what? Minus 3. 2x greater than negative 3. What? Divide by 2. So x has to be bigger than negative 3 over 2. Again, if interval notation is still hard for us, let's do a quick little graph. Negative 3 over 2 and 0. What kind of a dot do I have it? Open. And where are the numbers bigger, bigger than negative 3 over 2? To the right. So interval notation, how would I write that? Why? You're right.
Because
Good. It's an open circle. So 3 over 2, comma, infinity. You don't need a union because it's not squared. No. Just if you have, it just depends. Do you see here how it's a union because you can use anything except for that one number. So it's everything from negative infinity to that number. Can't use that number, but you can go to infinity. Here, since it's just one number and it's greater than or less than, it's just one way. You would use the union when you have, if it's x squared, you have to take the square root, then you get a plus or minus. But let's think about this. Okay, here's another example. I want you guys to write this down. What if I had what's the problem here? There's a variable in the denominator. So I have to take the denominator, folks, and I have to say, hey, this cannot be 0. What are we doing?
Factoring.
Does everybody see that? It's just a quadratic. You're just factoring.
Will it be the x plus 2 and x plus 4?
Tell me again.
X plus 3 and x plus 4?
So x plus 3, x plus 4. You guys agree? So I have two things that x cannot be. X cannot be what two numbers?
-4.
-3 and -4. How would I write that? Think about what that means. I can use any number in the world except for which two? -3 to -4. So think about it. I can use anything from negative infinity to what number? -3. Right? Then I can use anything that's between -3 and -4. Right? Then I can use anything from -4 to infinity. Do you guys see that?
So even if they're right next to each other, you still write as...
Yes, because there's numbers, God bless you, there's numbers in between. Oh, actually, I wrote that backwards. It should be negative infinity to -4.
Would it be...
Union, -4 to -3. Union, -3 to infinity. But you guys would be able to pick that up. -4 because it's smaller.
Oh, yeah.
But are there numbers between -3 and -4?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's little decimals, right? So you have to include those. That's important. Yes, sir?
What do you do with the 6 on the top, though?
Don't worry about it.
Oh,
Because 6 will always be 6, right?
yeah.
So be careful with that one, guys. All right, again, these are going to be multiple choice. So that's why we're going through it. If you have to, write down anything I say that's super important, but you're going to have to pick a graph and state the domain. If I have x equals 6, think about what that means. I have a dot at where?
6.
On what axis?
X.
So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What kind of a line am I going to draw?
Straight up.
Straight line.
What kind is that? We call that a what?
Vertical.
So look what that graph looks like. Domain is what values? X. So what's the domain here?
X.
6. Perfect. It's not negative infinity to positive infinity. What is the only x value that works on this graph? 6. That's it.
So if it gives you X, then you have to.
You're going to have to pick. I guarantee you there's 4 answer choices. One will look like that. One will have a horizontal line through 6. And some of you are going to pick it.
Do we live in the bracket like that?
I don't know how they have it on. This is a multiple choice.
Okay.
But I put it in brackets because it includes 6. It's the only thing that works. Yeah.
So if someone does like that, and there's no bracket, there's an answer choice with no bracket, and brackets, you want to put in
Pick the one that has brackets. Okay, y equals negative 3. What kind of a line is that? Where?
On the Y-axis.
So look, if I draw this, that's what that line looks like. Agreed? What is the domain? What are the x values that I can use here?
Anything,
Why?
because it's like, it goes on.
Yep. Right? Just keeps going on forever and ever and ever and ever. Okay, now here. I don't expect you guys, I'm not giving you a calculator. I do not expect you to do a whole table of values. You guys should be able to pick the correct graph using a couple things. First of all, if your graph is x squared, what shape does that make? No, a U. It's a parabola. So if you had 5 answer choices and only 3 of them made a U shape, what can you do to the other 2? Cross them off. And then secondly, that plus 4. What does this mean to go plus 4? Up 4. Okay, if you don't recognize that, guys, find the y-intercept.
When is it opposite? When it's in parentheses?
Find the y-intercept. How do we find y-intercepts? Plug in what? 0 for x. So if I said 0 squared plus 4, what is 0 squared?
0.
0, and 0 plus 4 is?
4.
4. So I know that 1, 2, 3, 4. I have my intercept here. And what shape did you tell me that graph makes?
U.
A U. If you have a multiple choice, you guys should be able, you don't have to make a table of values without a calculator and spend all of your time doing that. You should be able to look at the original equation and say, oh, it's squared, it's quadratic, it makes a U. Plus 4 means it moves up 4.
If it was negative X squared, would that make
It
U
flip
better?
it down. Good, very good. So what is my domain here? What numbers can I plug in for x to get something out?
0.
I can plug in 0. What else? Can I plug in any negative numbers?
No.
Why not?
Because
What's negative 1 squared?
1,
Plus 4 is?
4, 5.
Okay, I can use negative 1. Can I use negative 10? What's negative 10 squared? 100 plus 4 is? Okay, so I can use any negative numbers in the world. Can I use any positive number in the world?
Yeah.
Yeah, so what's my domain here? Negative infinity to positive infinity. I can use anything I want. What's the range? What's the lowest number on the y-axis that we use?
4.
And it goes all the way up to what?
Infinity.
Okay, good.
So you ask for range, you just put 4, infinity.
Yeah. But your domain, you can use anything. Look at this one. This is not a trick question. Oh, I forgot to do that. This is not a trick question. Think about, you guys have told me, what is the shape of x cubed?
A V.
Not a V, that's absolute value. It's like an S.
Like an S.
Okay, so in your mind, go like that, it's like an S. So right away, I can probably cross off 2 answer choices that aren't S's. Okay, that -7. What does that -7 do to the graph? Goes where?
It's a negative.
Goes down 7. If you guys don't know that, find the y-intercept. Plug in 0 for x. So 0 cubed minus 7. What's 0 cubed?
0.
0. So 0 minus 7 is?
7, negative 7.
So I have a point down here at -7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Right? And what shape did you say this makes? Kind of like an S. Okay, it doesn't have to be perfect. You guys are going to pick a graph. So think about it. I have arrows at either ends. It's going to continually get taller and continually get wider. What's my domain for this function? Think about it. Can I plug in negative numbers? Can I cube negative numbers?
No.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Can I cube positive numbers?
Yeah.
What's my domain?
Negative infinity.
Negative infinity to positive infinity.
So you can have negative x, negative infinity.
Yeah.
Wait, are you gonna ask for the range though?
I don't know if I asked for that or not, but what's the range? I have arrows at both ends, so it's continually getting taller and shorter, so it's negative infinity, positive
Okay,
infinity.
so how would the domain not be infinity? Like how would it be like a number 2?
Okay, good question. Like, I'm gonna just put it here. Say that I went like that. My graph went like this. On the x-axis for this blue line that I just drew right here.
It would be
X-axis, 0 to what?
to infinity.
Perfect.
Can you show the domains for the other ones as well?
For which ones?
The 11 and
I'm gonna do 11 right now. 12 is negative infinity, positive
If
infinity.
it's a u and an s like that,
Mhm.
it's always gonna be infinity.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, so it's parentheses?
Yeah, never brackets on infinities.
So what's the range for that one? The u?
4, you told me, 4 to infinity.
4 to infinity.
Mhm.
Gotcha.
All right, guys, look at this one. Look at this. This is important that you guys pay attention to this. First of all, what is the shape of this graph?
A line.
It's a line. What is the slope?
Negative.
Negative what?
Downward.
Okay, -3, and then my y-intercept is at 1, right? So I have a point at 1. Everybody watch this. And my slope is -3 over 1. So I go down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1. Down 3, 1, 2, 3 over 1, right? How do I know which way to go over? If it's a negative slope, which way it goes down, right? So this is what my graph looks like. You guys agree? But the only thing that they're concerned with are the x values between what and what? What does it say? Between where and where? Read it.
Between
-4 and
3.
+3. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go up here. What kind of a dot am I going to put right there? Why did I color that dot in?
Open. I'm gonna close. 'Cause
Why?
It's equal to
Good. And down here at 3, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to, what kind? Open. What do I do with everything else on this line that doesn't fall within those two numbers?
erase it.
I erase it. So you're going to have a question on your quiz. Everybody will have one type like this. And it's going to be a line of some sort or whatever, but it's going to give you intervals that they look at. Please, since it's multiple choice, be careful. If there is a equal to underneath your inequality sign, your dot should be colored in, should be closed. If there's not, like this, it should be what kind of a dot? Open, okay? It's not tricky. Not tricky. I'm just trying to make sure you guys are paying attention to the little pieces.
Where'd you put the dots for the -3x plus 1?
I put my intercept right here, and then I just went up 3 over 1, down 3 over 1.
Oh, so that's just up 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then the right one is where your endpoints are at?
Yeah, the yellow. Okay, the last question I want to go over.
So wait.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You don't graph that one negative. You just like put the close.
That's the slope. So it's
What do you mean you don't graph which one? This over here?
the negative.
That's telling you the only part of the line that they want you to look at.
And how do you know to put like the close one?
Yeah.
Because right here, you're fine. Right here, do you see how the first inequality sign that I circled in red has the line underneath, means or equal to. So that includes it. That's why it's closed. This one here that I'm going to circle in green doesn't have that line. So that's why it's open.
So if it was like the first one was first like not underlined,
It would be like that.
it'd be open and then closed.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just the order.
So where'd you put the -4?
I didn't put it anywhere. That's where I looked on the on the x-axis. They're only caring about the line between those two intervals.
Between threes?
Between -4 and 3 on the x-axis.
Where's the -4?
Well, if my graph was perfect, it's on the whatever where this equals on the -1, like right here. Yeah, because I drew my line weird. Sorry. Okay, can you guys go back for me to that one that I skipped? The f of, just read it to me so I can write it. We'll do it. It was f of a plus h, right? Minus f of a.
Over h minus f.
Right? What did they want me to plug in? What did I tell you to plug in? 2x squared plus 1? Okay, you guys with me?
Yeah.
So what they're telling you to do is, and you'll have one of these, take this, a plus h, and plug it in here. Right? Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to say 2, sorry. 2 times a plus h what? Squared plus 1. Right? I'm going to put this in a big parenthesis. And then I have minus, what do they want me to do here? They want me to do the same thing again, but what do they want me to plug in now? Just the a. So it's 2a squared plus 1. All this is over h. Now all this is algebra, guys. I'm going to do in red first. 2 times a plus h times a plus h, right? Plus 1. All I'm doing is just simplifying the red part right now. So let's FOIL first. A times a is a times h. Yep. H times a. HA or AH again. And then h times h. Plus 1. Right? Okay. Yeah. Haha. What happens with these two?
Combine.
Right. So I have 2 AHs. You okay with that?
Yeah.
All right, so now let's distribute. 2 times a squared is 2a squared. 2 times 2ah is plus 4ah. And 2 times h squared is 2h squared. And then I have what? Plus 1. All right, can I combine anything there?
No.
Nope, so I'm just going to leave it.
No chance.
Now I'm going to worry about the second part.
Divide by h.
I have my second part of 2a squared plus 1. Right? And all of this is over what letter? H.
You distribute the negative?
I have to distribute the negative. Fantastic, Christian. Good. So when I do this, I have 2a squared plus 4ah plus 2h squared plus 1. I rewrote the first parenthesis. When I distribute this, it becomes minus what? 2a squared and minus 1. All of this is over what letter? H.
The plus 1 and minus 1 cancel.
Okay, Christian sees right away. Oh, plus 1 and minus 1 do what? Cancel out. Good. Does anything else cancel out?
The 2a's.
The 2a squared and the negative 2a squared.
You have 4ah.
So I'm left with 4ah plus 2h squared over h.
That's your answer.
Almost. If I write this out, look, 4ah plus h squared over h. Thank you. Is there anything in the top that I can factor out?
The h's.
I can take one h out, and I'm left with 4a plus 2h, right? So what happens to the h's?
They cancel.
Every single time you do this problem, you should end up that in the top you can take out an h, and then the h on the top and the h on the bottom will cancel.
Makes sense.
It's real easy to get messed up in your algebra there. I know that. I know that.
Are we getting a test book?
But that's it. Hold on one sec. Yes, sir.
To go back to like this